Nestled among the towering pines and rugged peaks of northwest Montana lay the small town of Pine Hollow, a quaint and quiet community with a population of just 287 souls. It was a place where everyone knew everyone else, where the worries of the outside world seemed distant and irrelevant. That is, until the day the ravenous black bear appeared. The first sign of trouble came when Old Man McGregor, the town's hermit and a veteran of many hunting seasons, was found dead in his cabin on the outskirts of town. His body was savagely mauled, the wooden walls of his home splintered and clawed. The townsfolk whispered of a rogue bear, but no one could have predicted the horror that was to come. Sheriff Tom Warren, a burly man with a graying beard and a no-nonsense attitude, organized a search party to track down the bear. He had dealt with problem animals before, and he was confident that he could handle this one. Armed with rifles and accompanied by the town's best hunters, Sheriff Warren set out into the woods. Days turned into weeks, and the bear remained elusive. It seemed to move like a shadow, appearing in one place only to vanish before anyone could take a shot. They found more bodies, hikers, campers, even children, each one more brutally attacked than the last. Fear gripped Pine Hollow as the death toll rose. Businesses closed, and people locked themselves in their homes, hoping to avoid the beast's wrath. One evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, a blood-curdling scream echoed through the town. Sheriff Warren and his deputy, Sarah Bennett, rushed to the scene, finding the lifeless body of Martha Jenkins, the schoolteacher, sprawled across her front porch. Her eyes were wide with terror, and her throat had been torn out. Sheriff Warren knelt beside her, clenching his fists in helpless rage. "We have to stop this thing," he growled. Sarah, her face pale, nodded. "But how? It's like nothing can kill it." Reports of the bear's uncanny resilience began to circulate. It had been shot at point-blank range, yet the bullets seemed to pass through it without effect. Tranquilizers failed to put it down. Traps and snares were torn apart as if they were made of paper. The bear appeared unkillable, an undead beast driven by a vengeful hunger. As the weeks passed, the bear grew bolder. It stalked the streets of Pine Hollow, its eyes gleaming with a malevolent intelligence. People spoke of seeing it standing upright like a man, its black fur matted with blood. It would smash through doors and windows, dragging its victims into the night. Half the town's population was gone, killed or taken by the beast. In the heart of Pine Hollow, there was a small church where the townsfolk gathered, seeking solace and protection. Father Gregory, a kindly old priest with a gentle voice, held nightly vigils, praying for the safety of his flock. One stormy night, as thunder rumbled in the distance, the bear came to the church. The door burst open with a deafening crash, and the bear lumbered inside, its eyes glowing with an unholy light. The townsfolk screamed and scattered, but there was nowhere to run. The bear moved with a terrifying speed, its claws slashing through flesh and bone. Father Gregory stood his ground, holding up a crucifix. "Begone, foul creature," he shouted. "In the name of God, I command you to leave." The bear paused, its eyes locking onto the crucifix. For a moment, it seemed to waver, but then it let out a roar that shook the very foundations of the church. With a single swipe of its massive paw, it sent Father Gregory flying across the room, his body crumpling against the wall. Sheriff Warren and Sarah arrived too late. They found the church in ruins, the survivors huddled together in shock. Father Gregory was dead, and the bear had vanished once again. "We can't keep doing this," Sarah said, her voice trembling. "It's going to kill us all." Sheriff Warren's face was etched with exhaustion and despair. "We have to find a way to stop it. There has to be a way." Desperation led them to seek out old legends and local folklore. They learned of a tale passed down through generations about a spirit of vengeance that took the form of a bear. It was said to be unkillable, bound to the earth until its thirst for revenge was sated. No one knew what had awakened the spirit, but it seemed clear that it was now haunting Pine Hollow. The sheriff, Sarah, and a few remaining townsfolk devised a final plan. They would lure the bear into an old mine shaft outside town and collapse the entrance, trapping it inside. It was a long shot, but it was the only hope they had left. On a moonless night, they set their trap. They smeared animal blood around the entrance of the mine and waited, weapons ready. Hours passed in tense silence, broken only by the occasional rustle of leaves or distant howl of a wolf. Just as they began to lose hope, the bear appeared. It moved with a chilling grace, its eyes reflecting the faint starlight. The sheriff fired his rifle, and the others followed suit, but as always, the bullets had no effect. The bear roared and charged, but Sheriff Warren and his team were ready. They led it into the mine, sprinting out just as the bear crossed the threshold. With a mighty effort, they detonated the charges, causing the entrance to collapse in a cloud of dust and debris. The ground shook, and for a moment, it seemed they had succeeded. But then, from within the mine, came a deep, guttural roar, echoing through the night. The townsfolk stood in silence, their hearts pounding. Had they trapped the beast? Was it finally over? But deep down, Sheriff Warren knew the truth. The bear was not dead. It was only a matter of time before it found another way out, another path to vengeance. The spirit of the bear was bound to Pine Hollow, and it would not rest until every last soul in the town had been claimed. Days turned into weeks, and a fragile sense of normalcy returned to Pine Hollow. But the fear remained, a dark shadow over the town. The bear had not been seen since the collapse of the mine, but neither had anyone ventured too close to the site. One evening, as the sun set behind the mountains, a group of children played near the edge of the forest, their laughter echoing through the trees. They dared each other to go closer to the mine, to see if the stories were true. One brave boy, Jimmy, stepped forward, his friends cheering him on. As he approached the collapsed entrance, a cold wind blew through the trees, sending shivers down his spine. He took a deep breath and peered into the darkness, his heart pounding in his chest. For a moment, he saw nothing, just the jagged rocks and debris. But then, deep within the shadows, two glowing eyes stared back at him. A low growl rumbled from the depths, and Jimmy froze in terror. The bear was still there, waiting, hungering. Jimmy turned and ran back to his friends, his face pale with fear. "It's still there," he whispered, his voice trembling. "The bear is still there." The children ran back to town, their laughter replaced by fear. The news spread quickly, and the fragile calm of Pine Hollow was shattered once more. The bear was not gone. It was waiting, watching, and it would not rest until its thirst for vengeance was sated. The townsfolk of Pine Hollow could only wait and hope, knowing that their nightmare was far from over. The ravenous black bear, the vengeful spirit of the forest, would return. And when it did, there would be no escape.